Tupac, the case. Kefee D is not facing imminent charges. The same information that they have now is the same information they've had 10 or 15 years ago. Don't fall for the clickbait. Let me give you these facts. Let's get into some of the straight game.
Blackjack. Life is like those cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY, Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. Also subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And like I always say, if you want to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of this straight game, please do me a favor and hit what appears to be that little bell notification right below this video. I'm going to get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, Kefee D will not be arrested on anything substantive. There is nothing imminent about anything that he's facing right now. Those are words to get you, or better yet, to get your attention, to paying attention to a news article that was promoted by the Sun newspaper, or the Sun website, if you will. There is nothing substantive that they said. They gave would be tantamount to a police source says, right? And what I want you to understand is that they've been saying this information for years, and there was never no charges. The reason why the Las Vegas Police Department, in my belief, served a warrant on Kefee D is because he was talking too much. He was talking too much, and there was one thing that Tupac's father said when I interviewed him on the Art of Dialogue. He said that when I asked him the question in regards to Kefee D, I asked him, how do you feel about Kefee D saying the things that he said, and then the government offering him a deal and a proffer agreement. And Mr. Garland said that the key thing, or the key word, is the government offering him a deal. You understand that? So now, if Kefee D is a government informant, and who knows how long that's been going on from any real perspective, right? And he has something to do, which he confessed on numerous occasions, but different stories. The first story was, where did they get the gun from before they shot Tupac? It was the little middle console inside of the Cadillac. And then there was another thing that Kefee D said, basically, that I'm gonna say that one for the streets, homie. That's for the streets, right? And then another thing he said, well, I gave the gun to Dre, and then Dre gave the gun to Orlando, right? So that's three different stories, right? This is why I'm telling you that there will be no charges. And like I said, I could be wrong, but I don't think so. And the reason why I don't think so is because there is no new evidence that the Las Vegas police, or a district attorney, or a grand jury would be able to hear, other than what we already know. As of recent, they tested those bullets that they say that were found in Kefee D's house. They didn't match, right? And so the only thing that I can see that they can use against Kefee D would be his own testimony. And as I just pointed out to you, he has said three different things in regards to what happened in the car with Tupac and in the car involving him, which he said he was a passenger in, right? Well, actually, he said 4. And then he tried to offer up the excuse and said that somehow, some way, Tupac was reaching for a firearm, but he never seen the firearm that he alleged that Tupac was reaching for. You understand what I'm saying? You know, trying to offer up that the self-defense motive for them shooting at Tupac, if you will, right? Well, if any DA went to court and they indicted him, let's say the grand jury, they submitted some evidence, the statements and all of that, and the grand jury felt like, you know, there was evidence to indict Kefee D on his statements. Well, he said 4 different things. So if the district attorney or the prosecutor would go to court and say, well, you know, this is what he said this, he said he was in the car. Number 1, they don't have a weapon. Number 2, they don't have ballistics. Number 3, they might have some witnesses or whatever have you from that perspective that could ID and put Kefee D in the car, right? But he's already testified to that. He's testified to being in the car numerous amount of times. So that information they knew 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. They already knew that, right? Yet they never filed charges. So now tell me if you can help me out with this story that was, you know, pushed by the Sun for clicks and views, and you've seen a lot of people who really can't think on their own or think for themselves, run with the narrative of what the news paper or blog or website said in regards to that. You know, some stuff I won't really entertain because, you know, I feel like my intelligence level is above that, right? And I don't just want to say stuff just to say it without it being some kind of thought-provoking information, if you will. So now, I just told you, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you know, they knew all of that. Kefee D was in the car, you know, the 3 stories he told about how Tupac was shot, you know, the 4th one coming in his book, talking about Tupac was trying to reach for a gun, and so on and so forth, right? When we know 9 times out of 10, well, I know, I don't know if you know, that story would be a lie, right? You know, if there was some kind of secret compartment, because we know Tupac in himself, if he was, you know, he had like, if you know Tupac like I know, he would have had the gun on him. He wouldn't have been, he would have tried to been reach for it. It would have been in close proximity, right? You know, but that simply wasn't the case. So now, prosecutor goes to court, you know, Mr. Davis says X, Y, and Z. Then his lawyer comes out with the 3 other statements he said. Well, my client also said this. My client also said that, right? And now it's what you believe or what evidence, right? A preponderance of evidence, if you will, that the prosecutor can present to persuade the jury to vote guilty, right? That won't be turned over on appeal, because that's the you know, that's the chance you run when you get a conviction on some kind of speculation or, you know, light evidence, if you will, and then, you know, somebody having enough money to go hire a great appeal attorney, and they going to you know, the Second Circuit or whatever, you know, the 3-judge panel or whatever, and appealing the case and winning it on appeal. You know, and no lawyer or prosecutor likes to have that done, like to have their case overturned from that perspective. You know, that's basically saying that you're a weak lawyer and you made a weak argument from that perspective. So I'm trying to understand this imminent thing, and you know, police sources say, you know, from that perspective, what police source? Because up until now, We don't even need to hear that. We just need to see if it's gonna be charges filed. Then that's what they do. There's no, where do you know? Where have you heard where they're saying, there's imminent Kefee D or anybody faces imminent charges, blah blah blah. You don't hear that in any real investigation. They come and they get you. It doesn't happen that way. So that some police sources leaking information to the Sun, this tabloidish website. Come on now. If you can't tell that ain't for clicks and views, you ain't really paying attention. And so I want, my viewers to chime in. I mean, please help me out because I'm having problems understanding this one, man. And I would hope that you could help me understand what it is that they're going to charge Kefee D with, as I understand the law and how it's applied, right? What can they charge him with? Conspiracy, right? None of the people that were supposedly in the car are still alive, right? He's the only one talking. And so basically, you can, like I said, you can get a grand jury or DA to file charges. Will those charges be strong enough to persuade a jury that he's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt? Based on, I would think, his statements, because that's the only thing that they can really offer up as evidence. So, yeah, that story that was run by the Sun was light in its ass, if you will. There was no real. They offered really nothing. These police sources say, like, we got the source, and so we gonna put it out there. Like, no, you don't have the source. You may have somebody claiming that they know more than they actually do, and that goes on a lot, and thinking that he gonna be, Kefee D gonna be they looking, they creeping, they don't have no evidence. What they got? Right? He already said he was in the car. You could charge him with that alone. He was in the car, so he's accessory. Right? Or accessory after the fact. All of that. They had that information years ago. What makes it different? The only thing that made it different is Kefee D was talking and, saying a little too much. And when, it's looked at as the government being complicit in the murder of Tupac Shakur, that in there lies the problem. Because basically they gave him a deal. So it makes it look like they gave him a deal because they hated Tupac Shakur so much that they gave him a deal, patted him on the back and basically said, job well done. We didn't like him and we didn't want him here anyway. And the government doesn't want anything to do with that. So we get a warrant. We raid his house. You talking too much. And now all of a sudden the Sun comes out with this report talking about imminent, Kefee D facing imminent charges. Police source says. Come on. Wake up. Use your brain. Your boy DELRAY. Straight gang.